I really like some new intro music.
Yeah?
Yeah, I want something. I'm going to totally rip this idea off of the new Scrubs Rewind show. I want a music bed that we can count in that comes in on a high beat. I want a music bed that we can count in that comes in on a high beat. A music bed that we can start our show with 5, 6, 7, 8. And then the music bed comes right in. 5, 6, 7, 8. See, we could have started the show right there.
That's it though. I'm just gonna rip that.
Instead of us doing da 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 da. 5, 6, 7, 8.
What is up, boyos? This is the Jake and Cory podcast. I'm Jake. That is Cory. What is up, Cory?
What's up, Jake?
Oh, I'm just a burn victim over here. Just got burns all over my hands and body, and so
are you gonna start a GoFundMe page?
Yeah, please. I need help to pay for my medical bills that actually I get workman's comp for, but it's fine.
I have the best title for your GoFundMe campaign.
Yeah.
Stupidity in the kitchen.
Yeah, basically what happened was I was cooking a steak, right? And I had oil in there, right? As one does. Not a lot.
A big steak, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was a big, juicy steak. It was very exciting. I was making it for my clients at work. And, big, juicy steak. Put some oil in there. I didn't put a lot of oil because I don't think you need a lot of oil when you're cooking a steak. It's really just to get that nice little crust on the steak and also so it doesn't stick, I'm no Gordon Ramsay, but I know a thing or two.
You are correct. You are not a Gordon Ramsay. What kind of pot were you cooking in?
Just a regular like frying pan,
It wasn't a cast iron skillet. It was ceramic coated.
No, I don't know. It wasn't cast iron.
You're right. You're not Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't cast iron. Because
okay.
I ain't going to mess with no cast iron. Come on now.
Cast irons are the best for steaks, but continue.
Yeah, and I'm putting the steak in, and the oil's already a little hot. It's pretty hot.
Yeah.
And as I'm like putting it in there, the steak falls, like I drop it on accident, and all the oil just splashes all over both of my wrists. So
yeah. You probably think you didn't have a lot of oil in that pan, but if it got you covered all the way up to almost your elbows, that was a lot of oil.
It didn't get me, well, it got my left wrist like all the way up to my elbows, but it's just like a bunch of little burns,
splatters. Yeah.
Splatters. And then like on my right wrist, I got like a big old gash, like big burn on my. Yeah, it hurts like hell. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, you got second-degree burns. Those suck. And guess what? They're going to suck for the next 3 weeks. So have fun.
Wait till they start blistering. Then
I've got the nastiest blister on my wrist. It's so disgusting. And then like 50 small blisters all over my left wrist or left arm. It's disgusting.
Well, you're not the only one that went accident prone. As you can see, I have a Band-Aid on my right hand.
Oh, what'd you do?
Because this, I installed I'm starting to deal with my loneliness during this pandemic with buying things that I don't really need. You have a new microphone. I decided to get me a new microphone.
Oh,
I have a new RE 320. Love it to death. Hopefully it sounds amazing. But along with the RE 320, I bought a new Frameworks professional mic stand, boom arm. So this boom arm, it's really, really spring loaded. So I went to move it and had my hand between one of the elbows of the boom arm, And when I went to move it, I didn't release the tension. And the tension snapped right on my hand, right under my thumb, and it smarted like hell. One hell of a hematoma. Thank God it's gone down. Like my whole thumb region of my hand was all red. Now it's just right where it pinched, and it broke skin, and it bled like a stuffed pig. And that was this week. And that was stupidity. Like with yours, I don't think it was so much stupidity as more of just, a mishap of a steak falling. Mine literally was stupidity, where I know that I have worked with enough of these studio boom arms that they're going to have tension on them. They have to hold up microphones that are 3 or 4 pounds. They've got tension.
Yeah,
and this microphone
mine's
sounds
kinda
amazing.
Stupidity, though. I should have handled with more care, but
Yeah, and you know what? And it's part of my stupidity or my impatience, because when I hear people have mishaps in kitchens, I always think that it's completely avoidable. But so for someone that's a novice cook like you are, yeah, you can have an accident every now and then.
Well, yeah, and it was avoidable. I was just dumb. It can happen to the best of us, though.
Dude, steaks fall. You can't. There's no control over a fall.
Yeah, it just happens sometimes. But yeah, dude, I've had that happen to me so many times, actually, because I've worked in live sound for many years, and not right now, not a whole lot of live sound gigs right now, but I've worked in
with the mic stands coming down and pinching that spot between your thumb and your pointer finger.
Oh God, it's the worst.
That's the worst feeling ever.
I went to school for audio, and like half of it was just when you're holding a mic stand with a weighted bottom, just hold it away from you, because there's so many horror stories of the weights falling off and like breaking people's toes. And
my former producer of Fat Guy Radio Show, Philippius, actually dropped a 5-pound weight on my foot one day.
Ugh.
He thought it was just going to be funny, but it literally fell on the bridge of my foot, and I was so mad at him. I looked at him and I said, "How the fuck did you think that was going to be funny? It's 5 pounds that you dropped 3 feet."
Why do you do that?
He just thought it was going to be a little funny gag, because this was back when my studio had a camera rig known as a jib. And a jib has a camera on one end and it has counterweights on the other end. And the 5-pound weight that he dropped was part of the counterbalance weight for the jib. And he just thought it would be funny to knock it off of the table onto my foot. And that was like the first and last time I ever wanted to punch my best friend and producer of my show. It hurt. And for that, we still kept, it's still in the studio somewhere. We kept the 5-pound, and every time someone looks at the 5-pound weight, we know that that's the one that Philippius dropped on Cory's foot as a joke that didn't go over very well.
Notice how he's not on the show anymore, too.
No, he's not on the show, but that has nothing to do with him dropping the weight on my foot.
What's like the worst, like, have you ever had a really good friend, right? And now you guys don't talk at all? Do you have any like good stories of like why you don't talk to friends anymore? This is a weird question, but
none that I would share on this show, because you'd edit it out.
Oh, come on.
So no, I don't. But this mic sounds amazing, and thank you for the compression tips.
Oh yeah, no problem.
I think it sounds beautiful.
One time I was hanging out at a friend's house. This is when I was like in grade school. I was hanging out at a friend's house, and you know, when you're like a little kid, sometimes you'll share the bed with your homie, you know, and we're sharing beds, and we got our, you know, feet near heads, you know, because we didn't want to, you know, be weird about it. So
were you when you were laying in the bed, were you laying poles to poles or poles to holes?
Oh, well, we were completely flipped.
So poles to poles.
Yeah, basically.
So no, because it's no matter which way you flip, bro. The giblets in the middle are gonna meet.
That's true, but it was more like my dick was like at his knees, I guess. You know?
Yeah, you're a little taller than him. I understand.
Yeah, sure. But like, he decided it'd be funny he was sleeping, and while he was sleeping, he like kicked me on accident. So like I kind of kicked him back, and then he decided to just like curb stomp me in the face like 3 times.
Oh, so his feet were up near your face?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. We were flipped. So like,
so he curb stomped you.
Yeah, he curb stomped me 3 times, and then we stopped talking for like a long time after that.
That's not a reason to stop talking.
Well, we're friends again now.
That's good.
We're good friends now. So
I honestly can say that I don't think I have any friendships that have ended on a bad note. Most friendships that have ended in my life can be filed under the fact that people just grow apart.
Yeah.
I don't have any tumultuous friendships. Like I don't have anyone that if they contacted me, I would, cringe that I'm hearing from this person. I never let anything end like that. Even with past relationships, I never let end that way. I don't feel, I'm not one of those people that lets bad blood just fester out there. If there is some type of disagreement and that we can't finish or we can't resolve, then that's proof that, there really wasn't a friendship to begin with, because a friendship has a level of love that conquers any disagreements.
That's true. And sometimes violence in friendships bring you closer.
Absolutely.
Sometimes.
Sometimes as men, we got to duke it out sometimes.
I think girls do it too. They just don't talk about it as much.
No, they don't. And girls sometimes get into their little tiffs and their little fights and stuff like that. And yeah, they need to, it brings them closer.
Yeah, especially
when they do.
Especially when you're a kid and you got all that testosterone and it's just like, I don't know how to deal with this. And then you just like beat the shit out of each other and you're like, I love you, man.
Mm-hmm. Some of the best fights do bring you close. And if you are close to someone and you do love them, you're going to have disagreements. It's all about your ability to get over them. It's your ability to work through them. Go a couple of days if you have to without talking to each other. But eventually your love is going to bring you back together. I've had arguments with friends that have put a temporary distance between us, but then we come back together, we shake it off, and we move on. It's part of being an adult.
It's part of just being a human, I think.
True.
Yeah.
Which humanity isn't something that is prevalent in these days.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe our country will fight for a bit and we'll get over it. And we'll come together at the end.
No.
Cory, I got a question for you.
I just hit my mic. Yes.
That's cool. I've been hitting my mic this whole time. How do you feel about musicals?
I love musicals. I studied musical theater when I was in school.
What's your favorite musical of all time?
Stage play wise, I would have to give see, I've seen a lot of shows that have been adapted to become a musical.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the best, I wouldn't say it's my all-time favorite, but one of the best musical stage plays that I've seen has been the stage play adaptation of oh my God, it was just right on the tip of my tongue and I just lost it.
The Lion King?
No, not The Lion King. It's a movie, Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Little Shop of Horrors. The way that they turned that into a stage play, the Broadway version, is absolutely remarkable. It was literally one of the top 3 plays that I went and saw multiple times in its Broadway trip through Phoenix.
How do you feel about the reverse of that, about musicals being turned into movies?
It gets a little awkward when it turns when it goes from stage to movie, because movies have a lot of time to fill, or have a certain time to fill or a certain time limit. So they compress certain things. Like a stage play can easily run for 2.5 hours because of all of the set changes and costume changes and interludes and intermission. But when it comes to a movie, you go from having to see it from the front to now seeing it from 360, seeing it all the way around when it comes to a movie, and sometimes adding that extra layer of visualness can dampen the fact that you go into a movie looking at it looking at it with a stage presence in mind. It's the same thing when someone takes a book and makes it into a movie. Hunger Games is the first one that comes to mind. The Hunger Games was a book first, and there were many more details and 300 something pages than they were able to get into, a 120-minute movie. So you always lose something because you have to fit that story into that new genre. So there's always some give and take.
There is one book that I think turned into a movie and became a bigger movie than it was ever a book, and better movie than it was a book, and that's Jurassic Park. Just want to throw that out there real quick.
I would agree. It wasn't a bestseller when it was in print, and when it became a movie, of course, everyone knows it. It's just it's a powerhouse movie now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I've never seen a play though that's been turned into a movie that I liked more than the stage play. One that really comes to mind is actually the movie Rent. I love the musical Rent. I do too. I think it's great. It's wonderful. The set pieces are great, usually really well acted. All the characters are really well developed. It has a strong message. And at the time it kind of normalized, it's if you have AIDS, it's okay. Like, we're with you. It's scary, but it shouldn't, because back then it was kind of no one even wanted to touch people with AIDS at the time. But like,
right.
So it was a powerful play. But then the movie comes out, and it's like, I don't care about any of these characters. They suck. The music isn't as good. Why do you have Rosario Dawson in this thing? It wasn't very good. Another one is Sweeney Todd. I love the stage play of Sweeney Todd. It's fantastic. It's wonderful.
It can be done so well. Broadway stage plays, they do it very, very well. When you get local theater companies that do it, budgetary wise, they kind of have to skip over some details and some elements that, it kind of takes it away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you on the Rent thing though. Taking it from the stage play and turn it into a movie, I agree with you. But taking the stage play version and putting it in movie version like they just did with Hamilton.
This is why, yeah.
I think works better.
Yes.
Than taking it and completely transforming it into that 360 visual of a movie.
Absolutely. Because, but like Sweeney Todd, for me, out of all of the musicals that have been turned into a movie, it's one of my more favorite ones. I think it's still pretty decent, but like nothing comes close to the stage play in my opinion.
An amazing score, an absolutely phenomenal score.
Yeah, and what Tim Burton did with it was kind of interesting and it's different. And another one, a very famous one, was Phantom of the Opera. That was turned into a movie as well. For some reason, they got Gerard Butler. Dude can't really sing.
There is a stark difference between a stage actor and a film actor.
Yeah.
Huge. And it doesn't always translate very well. Tyler Perry, in a lot of his movies that he redid they were originally plays and he redid them for film. He brought in bigger powerhouse actors to do the former play on the film. And I guess he understood that because it worked.
Well, and that's how Rent was
very
too.
well.
A lot of the actors from Rent were in the movie Rent. But at that time, it was kind of weird because it was also like 10 years later. So all those actors who were like in their mid to late 20s during the stage play are now in their mid to late 30s playing 20-somethings in New York, and it was kind of awkward.
See, I don't think stage actors translate very well into film actors.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do.
Like, stage actors, and I'm one of them. Stage actors really engage with the energy of the room, the energy of the audience. You don't have that level of energy when you're in front of a camera. It's the same reason why a lot of these competition shows now, like America's Got Talent, it's really awkward because these shows started taping at the height of the coronavirus. So they had to get rid of all of the audience. And when the NBA comes back into play in a couple of weeks, they're going to be without an audience. And it's going to be very different, where film actors that are normally just done doing film, like an Angela Bassett, I don't think Angela Bassett has ever done Broadway. She's a film star and she's amazing at it. And I think it would be kind of weird to see her on stage and vice versa. That's, I mean, in my opinion.
So sometimes it works. Sometimes there's some crossover there. The one that really comes to mind is Idina Menzel. She was actually in Rent. She was in Wicked. She's a Broadway star, but now she's also known for being Elsa, which that's voiceover, which is a little different. But I also just watched the movie Uncut Gems, the movie with Adam Sandler. And it was actually a phenomenal movie. Very good, very anxiety inducing. But she plays his wife in that movie, and she's actually phenomenal in that movie. So sometimes there's some crossover there. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like, a lot of stage actors, for one, it's like you have to look out to the audience more. And a big part of film is like you don't acknowledge the audience, whereas you kind of acknowledge the audience when you're doing a stage play. If people are going to make a musical, though, for films, I think it's almost better when it's made specifically for film. The one that comes to mind is La La Land. I absolutely adore that film, and that was not a Broadway play. That was just, let's make a musical and put it on film, and it's phenomenal. And you have two actors. You have Ryan Gosling and you have Emma Stone, who are not stage actors.
Right.
Although I'm sure they have done stage work. I think most actors probably start out doing stage work. But yeah, I love that film so much.
So is this all leading up to Hamilton?
Yeah, I'm kind of getting to Hamilton because did you watch it?
No.
You didn't watch it?
I don't have Disney Plus.
Dude, it's $6. Drop the six bones.
No, I'm too busy buying microphones to fill the void and loneliness in my life.
Yeah, as Britney Spears once said, the loneliness, it's killing me.
Yeah.
Except that wasn't Britney Spears. Whatever.
I've seen the stage play video version of Hamilton.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it was just too overhyped for me. So I kind of didn't buy it, and I might be sleeping on it, and I might end up watching it and be like, I'll probably steal someone's Disney Plus sign on just to watch it, but I'm not jumping out of my way. And it's just the new hype thing, that everything that's going on right now, and I'm just not buying it, and I'm not buying into the hype. But I think that it probably from a 30,000 foot level, it looks like it's going to be amazing, because I did see an interview with how they did it, where they shot wide shots with a live audience, and then they did close-up shots with no audience, and then they did a second arrangement of cameras on a wide shot with another audience. And this isn't something that they just did. This was something that they actually filmed like a year ago.
Yeah, that's actually interesting that you brought that up, because I was wondering while I was watching it, because they did have a lot of close-up shots, and I was like, I wonder if they did these close-up shots without an audience, because it'd be kind of awkward to have a cameraman up on stage during
because the lighting and blocking and everything would have to change. So that, I believe, what Hamilton that just came out is probably, and I haven't seen it, and you've seen it. Do you like the way that it looked?
I thought it looked great. Yeah.
So maybe that's the answer to the crossover from stage play to movie, is that you do that far away close up, far away close up. That really puts a strain on the actors, though, because that means you're blocking, your facial expressions, your inflections, and everything have to be spot on damn near every time, because you're not moving. The only thing that's moving is the production.
Right. Yeah.
So if it looked good, I'm glad it worked. I did see that in an interview, though.
I have a lot of thoughts about Hamilton, but yeah, it's interesting that you bring up the production of like recording a show versus like turning it into a movie. Like one of the biggest disasters I can think of is like Cats, right? That stage play doesn't work as anything other than a stage play, because the whole idea of it is it's just character development on top of character development, which works great as a stage play because it's just song after song after song, and it's building these characters, and a lot of stage productions are just building characters. Whereas like a movie, you need a beginning, middle, and end.
But Cats, even as a stage play,
right, it's kind of iffy.
I'm sorry. I mean,
well, and a lot
Cats.
of what makes Cats is the choreography and the dancing of it, which when you see that in a movie isn't quite as impressive, because it's like, well, you could have done this in like 200 takes. I'm not really that impressed. But when you see it live, you're like, oh wow, that's kind of beautiful, you know, all this dancing and stuff.
Yeah. And then Cats, when they did it in the movie, they introduced one thing that completely ruined it: CGI.
Yeah, the CG was rough.
I mean, I never even watched it. I watched clips and highlights of it, and I read reviews about it, and that was enough for me to say hard pass.
Yeah, I actually went and saw it opening night. It came out the same weekend as Star Wars Episode 9. So on Thursday, I went and saw Star Wars Episode 9, and then on Friday, I went and saw Cats, because I had to see the train wreck that was Cats. And it was me and like maybe 15 other people in the theater. And as we were watching it, and most of the audience were like older people, and as we were watching it, about 5 of those people walked out of the theater.
I'm not
not
surprised.
to return.
I'm not surprised by that at all.
Yeah, it's a rough movie, but also kind of fascinating. It's a very fascinating film.
It's an interesting storyline, but it's not an engaging storyline.
Yeah, even
you
the
have
stage
to,
play.
and the only reason why Cats is so huge on Broadway is because it's been around for 55,000 years, and it has one of the most famous scores written in the history of theater arts. So
yeah, and I think also at the time when it came out, like the stage production of it and the costume design was pretty impressive. It's not as impressive anymore, because now we have things like Rent, which had a great set design. We even had like the Spider-Man musical, which had crazy set design, and even SpongeBob the musical, which sounds dumb on paper, was actually fantastic and had.
I saw that. I love it. I've been a fan of SpongeBob for a very long time. I was a little trepidatious going into it when I heard SpongeBob the stage play, but it worked. And the guy that played Patrick Star, I wish I knew his name off the top of my head, amazing stage actor. And the way they pulled off Squidward, amazing. I thought that was done very well.
Yeah, Squidward stole the show. He had this rap moment.
Oh, hands down.
Yeah,
hands down.
He stole the show. He had this rap moment, which and the thing I love about SpongeBob the musical is it bridges the gap, because musicals are very much for an older audience, I'd say. Yeah. And most of the people you'll find, aside from like a few kids who are just like super into musicals and they're kind of weird like that. I was one of those kids, so I can say that. But like, aside from a few kids who are just like into that kind of thing, it's mainly an older audience and an artsy audience, very hoity-toity audience. And but
hey, I'm part of that audience.
I am too.
And you're right.
I am too. But what SpongeBob did, which I thought was great, it really bridged the gap between this is great for adults, this is great for kids, this is great for the hoity-toity audience, this is great for a general audience. I think SpongeBob was fantastic.
Well, it's interesting because the SpongeBob stage play came after the company that I fear most, because I believe that they can buy and sell my soul at the drop of a hat, is Disney. Disney took The Little Mermaid,
right,
and put it on stage. But what they did is they took movie scenes from The Little Mermaid and wrote stage scenes and intermixed them.
Yeah, I watched that.
it didn't work as well as it would hoped, but
No.
I'm sure as a kid watching it, they were probably just, thrown for a loop. Basically, all of the speaking parts, or a lot of the speaking parts, were the movie sections, and a lot of the musical numbers were done live on stage. It's kind of like how it kind of balanced out.
Yeah, it was basically a
almost
concert.
worked. Yeah, it almost worked, but yeah, I think it was more of a concert. But the SpongeBob musical, man, they nailed that.
Yeah,
I got to give it to them. They nailed it.
I watched the Little Mermaid thing. It was interesting, and I thought Queen Latifah as what's her name? Ursula, yeah. I thought she was great. I loved her as Ursula, and I loved Shaggy.
It worked.
I loved Shaggy as the crab guy too. I was actually surprised by him.
Now, see, that was an instance where film actors translated well to stage, but I think that worked because they weren't film actors originally. They were musicians originally.
Right, and the reason it worked is because that really was a musical. And I think their original intention for that was to do a full stage production, and they just couldn't work it out. And I think that's why they did the intermittent, let's just show clips of the movie. It'll save us money. It'll save us time. We don't have to do a crazy set design, although their set design was crazy for that.
It was what they call a spill set.
Yeah,
where it spilled off the stage, and then they had an island in the middle of the audience, and then even the floor audience had participation with bubbles, and then it was a huge production, which is something that you expect from Disney.
Right.
The production aspect of it for the live scenes, I thought, was above and over the top.
But it also
was pure Disney.
It solidified that it made it feel more like a concert, in my opinion. Because of that.
I agree. Definitely more concert than stage play, and even given the stars that were in it, it was definitely more concert with an ad. It almost as if they seemed to use the clips from the movie as transition pieces, more so than parts of the actual stage play.
It felt a little disjointed, but it was cool. I liked it.
I liked it too. I love how they did the crabs, and it was puppeteering, and then aerialist work, and the fly systems, and how they made live aerial swim, and I thought it went very well. But the SpongeBob stage play, I think, outshined all of them, and it was very well done.
So this is a lot of preamble for me to get to Hamilton.
Well, you're in my wheelhouse. You're talking to a theater nerd here. I studied theater before anything else, and before music, before everything else in my life. I was a theater nerd. I did my first play in the 4th grade, where I played Baloo the Bear in our 4th grade version of The Jungle Book.
Yeah, I'm a musical kid too. I wasn't in musicals, but I was always part of the symphony that would play in the musicals, right? So I've always had an infatuation with the music of musicals and just musicals in general. I love musicals. And I used to be ashamed of that fact.
No.
Not anymore.
I loved being a theater brat in high school.
Yeah.
I loved it, and I nailed, out of my 4-year high school career, I finally nailed a role in the high school musical, because every year they opened up auditions to the whole school. You didn't have to necessarily be part of the drama club. They opened up the auditions for the high school play to everyone. And I finally was able to nail it down when we did Sweet Charity, and I got the role of Herman Fandango, the Fandango ballroom owner. And I got one of the big numbers, other than Hey Big Spender, which is one of the most notable songs from that movie. I got the second most notable song with I Love to Cry at Weddings. And I love that. I still perform that song sometimes to myself.
You said it, not me. How do you feel about High School Musical?
The actual musical, the movie?
Yeah.
The only thing that I can think of when it comes to that, I don't think I've seen it.
What?
I think I've listened to the soundtrack, and all I can say is together, 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 everyone, together, 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 have some fun. That's pretty much all that I know. And I like that song because of what it means. But sitting down and watching the whole thing, I don't like looking at good-looking teenagers.
Well, they were all like in their mid-20s when they filmed it.
I know. I don't like looking at good, perfect little people on yeah. I don't like them. I want some frumpy teenagers.
I personally think High School Musical got too much hate, especially back in the day.
It got too much press, too.
Sure, but it was pretty well done, and it was decent. It was lame, but it was decent, you know? The storyline
was hokey-tokey rich kids. Nobody's high school's like that.
Yeah, true. But yeah, Hamilton. Back to Hamilton. So, Hamilton. I didn't know much about Hamilton going into it. Not anything, really. I knew about Hamilton because it was kind of a cultural phenomenon there for a minute. I knew about Lin-Manuel Miranda. That guy obviously was everywhere doing the press for that thing. So I knew a little bit, but I purposefully didn't listen to any of the music, didn't see any of that stuff because I really just would have rather seen it. You know, if I was going to listen to the music, I would have rather just watched the play, you know?
Sure.
So yeah. I didn't really know what the storyline was. Obviously, it's about Alexander Hamilton, but I didn't know much about it. I knew it had, they incorporated hip-hop stuff into it. So my overall opinion of it is it's pretty good. it's pretty decent.
Just a big bucket of okay.
Yeah. There's a few things I really like about it, but at the start of it, the music is kind of it seems almost like reductionist hip hop. It's saying it's hip hop, but it's really just, it feels like 21 Pilots. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Kind of just milk toast hip hop. But then once it really starts picking up and starts exploring more of the musical aspects of it, I actually started to enjoy it a lot more. There's a character named Angelica who plays Alexander Hamilton's wife's sister, and I thought she was phenomenal in it. She's fantastic, single-handedly stole the show. I thought the guy who played Alexander Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda, I thought he was okay. He felt very one-note. They tried to add some comedy in there, which worked a little bit here and there. But the one thing I really liked about Hamilton is after you watch it, it makes you think about history, for real. And you're like, what is true about this play and what isn't, and what is the deeper? And I feel like I'm not alone in thinking that way. I imagine a lot of people watch that play and then they go home and they start researching some of that history because the history is actually very fascinating. And the fact that they humanized Hamilton and, George Washington and all those guys, Aaron Burr, who killed Hamilton, they humanized these guys and it made you kind of look into history in a different way. And I think that is the number one reason why that play is so good, is because it makes you think about history in a different way, and it gets you interested in history, and it's not 100% accurate, but it's like a starting point, into delving into the real American history, which is very fascinating and much darker than Hamilton lets on. But I thought it was pretty good for that reason alone.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, and I haven't invested any interest in seeing it just yet. But I mean, I might get around to kind of watching it. Yeah. So it kind of leans into my psyche of stage play in the movie, but because of the fact that it's shot the way that it's shot, I might look into it. I might have to take a dive into it.
Yeah.
Is it a movie that is did they release it just because of the current societal climate? Does it play into what's going on today?
Not really. It doesn't.
Okay.
Because a big part of the play is that, almost every character is played by not a white guy, basically. But it doesn't really delve into, like, as you would expect, it doesn't delve into, like, slavery or anything like that. It's really just the story of Alexander Hamilton. And
yeah, as long as it's not getting in all of that other kind of political bullshit, then I might have to look into it. I might have to go ahead and take a deep dive.
Well, it gets into politics, just not social politics so much.
Right. Well, Alexander Graham Bell Hamilton.
Yeah.
two different people.
Yes.
Politician.
He was a politician, correct? But
so it has to be some political flair in there somewhere.
Right. The whole thing is his political journey and how he was basically George Washington's right-hand man. He was the treasurer. He was very actively against Thomas Jefferson and then turned and was actually on Thomas Jefferson's side.
Money talks.
And it talks about how basically the big thing that made Alexander Hamilton very important to our history was he was the guy who kind of documented all of our history. He was known as a writer. He wrote everything. He was our historian, basically. He kept account of everything that was happening in the government, which is why we have such good documents of what happened and how everything got started, and very detailed history of our early America,
we've rewritten that, haven't we?
Yeah, we totally have. And the interesting thing about Hamilton is, he was anti-slavery too, and they mentioned that in the show, very minor, but yeah, he seemed like an okay dude. But in the play, they also humanized him a bit, because it's true that he was a bit of a player and he cheated on his wife, infidelity.
He loved the ladies. He liked the ladies.
He liked the ladies, and I like that in the play they actually humanized him. They didn't make him out as like this perfect character. They made him out as like he's flawed. He is flawed.
He was a playboy. They're all flawed, and I like that. So it wasn't a glorification of Alexander Graham Bell and his invention of the telephone.
It was and wasn't. It humanized him. It showed he was an important human, and he was.
Right.
Yeah, and it got me very interested in history. Made me want to look into history more.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing when you can watch something that's entertaining and then it makes you, it makes you want to, or it drives you to educate yourself. I think that's a really powerful tool that entertainment can use that we don't harness very much. Like, you have a play or a movie like Hamilton that encourages people to educate themselves. And then you have entertainment like, the Jake and Cory podcast that just absolutely doesn't implore you to educate yourself at all. It implores you to possibly want to shoot yourself in the face.
Oh, we're a little different. We talk more current events, eh? But
more current events, eh?
Yeah. Like Hamilton. Hamilton's a big current event.
Hamilton is big current events, and I never thought a day in my life would come, or I would never see the day that the Jake and Cory podcast was about music theater. I love that.
Well,
there are going to be nerds all over the world just arcing lows over the fact that we did 35 minutes on music theater.
Yeah. Hey, I'm trying to break up the.
I'm fine with it. I could talk musical theater for 90 minutes every day.
Yeah,
I'm totally fine with it.
We talk a lot about politics, so how about we talk about some early American politics?
I could sing you another song if you'd like me to. I know many theater songs and scores. I'd be more than happy to give you one.
Can you sing me something from Oklahoma?
No. Oklahoma, where the rain. But no, I'm not gonna do it.
Dude, Oklahoma is the most boring play I've ever watched.
That there is nappy nap time.
Yeah, you know, like how, do you like sushi?
No.
Okay. Well,
I like tuna, though.
I'm going to use this analogy anyway, even though you don't like sushi.
All right, go ahead.
So, Oklahoma is like me when I was younger and I had sushi and I hated it. And it wasn't until I was older and had good sushi that I realized I actually like sushi. Much like musicals, when I saw Oklahoma, I thought I hated musicals. Then I got older and saw some more good musicals, and I was like, "Oh, there is something here."
What was the musical that you saw when you were young? What was it called?
Oklahoma?
Oklahoma weathering. I just wanted to do that.
Oh man.
And I didn't even have to back off my microphone because a good friend of mine who hates me gave me some good compression tips.
Oh, must have been Philippius.
I love my Philippius.
Yeah, but he hates you. He dropped a 5-pound weight on your foot.
He did that trying to make me laugh, and it didn't do anything but anger the bear. Kind of like when you watched Oklahoma while you were having sushi. You were angry, and then when you got older, you watched Oklahoma again, and you had sushi. This time you put chili sauce on it, and you were like, this is good.
I would not put chili sauce on sushi.
That's true.
Ugh.
Nah. I can't do the raw fish. I've had versions of sushi that didn't have raw fish in it, but the raw fish aspect of sushi, I guess it really wasn't sushi. It was more of a rice roll.
Yeah.
Because it had rice roll and vegetables in it, and I just realized that my microphone's gonna need a pop filter. But yeah, I think that sushi is okay for people that like sushi. I'm not one of those people.
So bringing it back to musical movies, sort of.
Musical movies / concerts.
Sure. But where do you stand? We mentioned it last week a little bit about the movie stuff. Where do you stand? Do you think they're gonna open the theaters in July?
No longer in Arizona. Executive order from Governor Ducey, also known as Governor Too Late to Figure Out What the Hell to Do. Not going to open this month. They're shut down till the 27th
they said
of July.
Yeah, 30 days, right?
30 days. And I mean, AMC is not playing the Mountainside Fitness card. So yeah, they're not. I don't think that's it's going to happen in August either, because these son of bitches have no clue what to do. We're all on our own here. You have to do what you feel is the best way to protect you and your family at this point. And if that's quarantining yourself and locking yourself down like I'm doing, or I'm continuing to do, or if it's going about your everyday on a wing and a prayer, or it's, ignoring the whole thing, whatever you feel is the way that you think you can handle this thing, go ahead and handle it. But theaters, not in Arizona, not this month. And I think it's going to be a little while longer as well, because we can't figure out how to handle these large crowds. They can't figure it out. And it all comes down to, like a handful of people that have this thing that are just like, yeah, I'm going to go to a large crowd. I'm going to go to a large movie. I'm going to work, security detail for the vice president.
Oh,
I have it. Yeah, I'm going to do that. No problem. Yeah, I'm fine.
Did you hear Vice President Pence? He came to Arizona to do something like earlier this week, and he ended up leaving 4 of his security here because they tested positive for coronavirus.
Thanks for leaving them here instead of taking them back to Washington, D.C., you rat bastard. That's what we need. We need more cases here in Arizona, Pence.
Yeah. Hey. Oh, yeah. It's the 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, by the way.
You can kiss my ass with that 4th of July bullshit. What level of independence am I celebrating? Can you point to it, please?
We could talk to each other via the internet, I guess, is something.
Yeah, that we're paying for. Next.
Yeah. Amen, brother. I'm
There
with
ain't
you.
much to celebrate this 4th of July, my buddy.
What?
I'm sorry. This country is not in a place of celebration.
Absolutely. And then Trump has the goal to do his firework thing, which normally happens at the White House, right? I'm pretty sure they normally do like a big firework celebration.
Not at the White House. It normally happens on the mall, and I only know that because of friends that live in Washington, D.C. It happens on the mall.
Okay. But this year he decided, hey, let's do it at this place that is under a lot of scrutiny right now anyway. Mount Rushmore. He decided that's a good place to do it. There's a lot of controversy around Mount Rushmore, and there's no way he doesn't know about this, because the reason that there's a lot of controversy is because, one, a couple of those people on there are probably known to be pretty racist, and two, we decided to build that monument on Indian reservation and totally destroyed their land, even though we said that was their land. And I don't know why we've never talked about that before, but now it's coming out, and that once it like comes out that everyone knows this, Trump is like, that's the perfect spot.
This land is your land. This land is my land.
Yeah. Well, in Trump's opinion, it's just his.
I wouldn't be surprised if that orange bastard tries to put his face up there. I wouldn't be surprised at this. It's 2020. Nothing is going to surprise me at this point. We could wake up tomorrow morning and we could have the Will Smith Independence Day alien ship hovering over the entire world, and I would be like, I'm going to get a sushi roll.
It's like, yeah.
That's about par for
the aliens show up and the government's like, hey, everyone stay inside and hunker down, and people are like, but my rights.
I have the right to see aliens. You didn't let me in the Area 51, so I should be able to go out of my front yard. I will say this, I was very surprised, speaking of July 4th. We're taping this show literally on July 4th. You're welcome, America. That last night, my neighborhood, which is normally riddled with fireworks shooting off, a lot of people celebrating the day before.
Mm-hmm.
When 12:30 midnight hit, it was baby sleeping silent.
Yep.
And I think that, I said it in jest earlier, but I think that there is a cloud over this country right now where a large segment of people are going to challenge the ability to celebrate what we thought was an independent country, which kind of seems like there's only a small segment of people that are truly independent. And I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about there are people in economic levels that are more independent than people that aren't in those economic levels, and those economic levels transcend every race. So this 4th of July will be very interesting, along with the fact that almost every large fireworks display in the state of Arizona has been canceled because people that don't feel good or people that have been exposed to this virus don't know how to stay away.
Yep.
If we had a large group of people that have been tested and that have been found negative, that are not sick, that wanted to get together, then everybody would be safe. But you've got these idiots that just don't recognize that. And I was talking to a friend just the other day, and I'm like, what this whole virus thing boils down to, not politics, not race, not religion. It really boils down to people's just level of humanity. It's nothing new. Coronavirus did not bring the idea of staying home when you're sick. That's not anything new. We've been preaching that for eons. But people put their profits over safety of others. Now it's just not you spreading the sniffles or a fever or body aches. Now you're literally spreading, death certificates. And when you add in the level of death certificates to this, people just really just don't care anymore. And what's so funny is that everybody's saying that people don't care, but I'm starting to think that the people that don't care are the ones that are starting to say that people don't care, just so that people don't realize that they're the ones that don't care.
Right.
So when it comes to the 4th of July, not looking at it from a race or a political standpoint, looking at it from a pure economical standpoint, there's not a lot of people that are independent in this country, independently in a financial way. And therein lies that this country is not really designed for the betterment of all people. It's designed for the betterment of a certain segment of people. And unfortunately, that's not enough reason to celebrate.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like, it's hard to celebrate your country and your quote unquote independence when everything that's happened this year has happened, and it makes you realize everything that's happened this year makes you realize that this has been happening for decades.
Yeah, it just has a camera in front of of what's happening now.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's just, and the thing is, Jake, it's not even where we try to cover up the stupidity or the craziness that's happening in this country. People that are in leadership positions are blatantly doing it with no sense of regard. They're doing it because they can. And they're doing it because we allow them to. So we have no one, and this is what really makes it bad. We have no one else to blame for this abortion of a country than the people in it. Because no one else has done it. All these other countries that hate us, they are sitting back watching the shark eat itself.
Yeah.
Why destroy someone that's destroying themselves?
I don't know. I got to push back a little because I don't think it's necessarily the people in the country. It's certain people in the country. You know what I mean?
It's people that are in this country that are running offices that are stupid, that were elected by stupider people.
Sure. You know what they say though, the vocal minority. And how are we supposed to vote in better people when our options are literally this version of bad or this version of bad?
Yeah,
it's like, what
because
do you do?
why would it? Why? I mean, literally, the political pool that we have to vote out of is so shallow because the pool itself is destroyed. The pool itself is toxic.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that comes out of that pool is going to be toxic.
Well, and they like almost purposefully make it so confusing. Like, you'd think it'd be like just you're automatically registered to vote instead of like having to register and figure out how to do it. Granted, it is easy, but a lot of people don't realize how easy it is because
it's very easy.
They don't make it abundantly clear how easy it is. And, you know.
Now, I'm going to tell you something that's really interesting, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
I voted last year. It wasn't a presidential election.
Correct.
But I did end up voting last year. When I went into az.gov or whatever the website is to register for a mail-in ballot, I found it very interesting that my voter registration had been canceled.
Why is that?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
No earthly idea. I voted in the last presidential election. I voted in last year's elections. And when I went in to request mail-in ballot status, my voter registration was canceled. I had to completely re-register. I don't know what sense that makes.
It should.
Why would I be able to vote less than, what, 9 months ago?
It should be if you have a social security number, you're registered to vote. Or if you filed taxes, much like how we...
Boom! If you filed taxes.
Yeah, like just
you should automatically be registered.
Just like how we all received our Trump bucks, as I like to call them. You know, if you filed taxes, it should have just automatically went into your account.
You would think. One would think.
Just like it should automatically just register you if you've done your taxes. Granted, when you get your license, you can check, I want to be registered to be a voter. But how often do you get a new license?
Every
like 50 years? Like
50 years. Even though I got an email from the Motor Vehicles Department of Arizona telling me that I need to come in because the picture on my driver's license needs to be updated, because the picture on my driver's license is when I was 16. Or actually, I was 15 was when I got my driver's license, because that was back in the day when you could get your driver's license at 15 in 6 months. That's how old I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I took my driver's test in a Model T Ford. But I got an email stating that I need to come in and update my email address or my face, my picture. I really love my driver's license picture. I'm not going in and update my face. I don't want them to know what I look like. I'm still fat. I'm still black. I'm still unhappy. I'm still American. I'm still in Arizona. Why you need a picture? You want to update a picture of me? Go to my Facebook page, bitch.
Yeah, it's true. Like, why do you need an updated picture? I guess I understand.
It's a fucked up system ran by fucked up people who were elected by even more fucked up people. And you're right. We don't have many options. It's literally you have to vote for the lesser of the fucked up.
Well, they don't make it clear who you're voting for either. It's like,
no,
this person's Democrat, this person's Republican. That's like the information they give you, you know?
I don't know. I was talking to a friend and they said maybe my voter registration was canceled because I'm not registered as a Democrat or a Republican. Maybe that was the reason why it was, but I was trying to, and this was about a month ago, I was trying to get ahead of the mail-in ballot requests that are going to start to flood in
right
to the county assessor's office. I believe probably this month or next. There's going to be a slew of people, and I wanted to be at the front of that line. So I was like, I'm going to get this in now.
Well,
because I
registration
want to be
deadline
able to mail
was
in
today when we post
right,
this.
So I'm sure, and this was about a month ago when I started, and I hope I got it in, because I sure as hell am not. I'll go down to a polling place. I will. Hazmat suits are still available on Amazon. I will buy myself a hazmat suit, and I will go down there like a chocolate Darth Vader and make sure that I vote that orange faced bastard out of office. And even if I don't vote for Biden, I'll do a write-in vote for Big Bird, Elmo, or hell, SpongeBob the musical.
Well,
full circle.
Well, with that,
5, 6, 7, 8.
No, we got to do an outro. Well, thanks for joining us on this journey of musicals, American history, and America Now. It's
America Now.
Been a very diverse episode, I'd say.
I like it.
I had a good time. I hope we get to talk about musicals some more.
That makes one of us.
I hope someday soon me and you can go down to Gamage Theater and watch some sort of musical together, and I'll get popcorn and I'll cut a hole in the bottom. It'll be great.
Let me look at my magic 8-ball here that I have. I'm gonna shake it up. Here it comes. Outlook is bleak.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening to the show. Leave a like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Check out the Gamer Podcast tomorrow. We are going to be talking about all sorts of fun stuff like video game prices rising and other bullshit. that doesn't really matter. Um,
And hopefully one day the Gamers Podcast will tell you to listen to the Jake and Cory podcast.
I say it every time.
No, you didn't.
I do.
No, you don't.
I do. And what?
Check it out, and especially don't watch last week's Gamer Podcast episode where Nick Sapon took his hat off and showed those beautiful locks on top of his head. Don't watch.
Yeah, that's for Cory. That's only for Cory.
Thank you.
And whatever you
Only for
do,
me.
don't watch Fat Guy Radio Show.
No, don't.
Just kidding.
It's an abortion.
Just kidding. Check out Fat Guy Radio Show. Check out Cory. Look up his pictures. It's good fat material.
And please send one of those pictures to the motor vehicles department so they can update my driver's license.
Bye bye.
5, 6, 7, 8.